Welcome to another Clever Dick's podcast. In this podcast, I interview Clever Dick Duncan. Duncan has recently swum around Rangitoto Island with Shazeel, his disabled partner, a 20-kilometre swim, which I thought was pretty impressive. So I convinced him to sit down and let me interview him. We talked about the swim, the different ways that you can go around Rangitoto, came up with the idea of a little Auckland mini Triple Crown, and a couple of other things as well. I hope you enjoyed as much as we enjoyed making it. Well, welcome to another Clever Dick's podcast. In this podcast, we're going to interview a Clever Dick. Duncan, you're going to be our person of the thing.
Clever Dick. Cool.
Hey.
Thanks, John.
So we thought we'd talk about your recent adventure with Shazeel.
Yeah.
So, do you want to tell us a little bit about your last nice swim?
Yeah, so obviously I think we've spoken about Shazeel once before, so a special needs swimmer. We sort of try to do one adventure or one long-ish swim every season. And we decided that we were going to go around Rangitoto Island, which is pretty cool because there's not that many people that have done it. And, so Shazeel became the first Fijian to swim around Rangitoto Island, and he's obviously also the first special needs swimmer to swim around Rangitoto Island. So it was a good day out. Weather was fair. Weather was pretty good, in fact, for the first half, 3/4 of the swim, and then it turned a little bit pear-shaped and it got a little bit rough and bumpy towards the end. But he was a happy camper, which makes me happy, right? So it was a good day out.
That's cool. So just for people who might not live in Auckland, so swimming around Rangitoto is an island just in the Hauraki Gulf, normally about a 20k swim. Is that correct? Yeah.
So to my knowledge, it's sort of 20.2 kilometers. Obviously, so we swam a little bit further on the tracker. We had 22k's by the time we finished. There were certain parts, obviously, that we went a little deeper just to try and find the current and a little bit of tidal assistance. 22k swim. I think Shazeel became the 7th person, non-wetsuit, to swim it. I became the first person to do it twice, first person to go anti-clockwise and clockwise, which is pretty cool. You were on the boat, working as a observer and support, which was pretty cool. And I had my daughter there as well, so that was pretty cool. It was a good day out.
Yeah, and we had Mike and Sane as well. We actually ended up with 2 boats going around with you.
2 boats looking after us. I think so. Maybe let's go backwards a couple of steps, right? So Shazeel has done. He did Chopper Challenge with me as well a couple of years ago. I think it was in that COVID year where the actual event was cancelled, and you could. I think the organisers sort of said, "Hey guys, you can swim whenever and wherever you want as long as you follow." Whatever instructions they had. It had to be 20k's. You had to have an observer. Blah blah blah. And we swam from Devonport up the east coast to Long Bay, which was 20k's. And he just cruised it, right? He's such a strong little swimmer. The tricky part with Shazeel is sort of observing him and trying to understand what state he's in. Is he cold? Is he hot? Is he thirsty? Is he tired? So that's probably one of the jobs that I need to fulfill as a support swimmer. He's generally just so positive and so happy. I think if we sort of pitched up and tried to swim 100k's, he'd give it a go. You know what I mean? He's really good and strong. So you got to talk to him and got to really watch him closely and make sure that he's happy, you know.
Well, I must admit that when we were watching you guys swim, you know, you could see at sort of 3/4 of the way around, this was a guy who was working hard. He knew that there was a long way to go because you hadn't put any paddles on.
Yes.
So he takes the little cues coming from you.
Yeah. He picks up all of that stuff, yeah. In fact, you asked me, hey?
Yeah.
So again, for the listeners, is I generally, when I train with Shazeel, we'll do sort of half the set. I'll swim, you know, with no aids, but then I'll put my paddles on just to be able to, you know, make me swim a little bit faster because I'm pretty quick with paddles on, and I'll sort of give him a bit of a workout. So yeah, we must have got to about 4 or 5 hours, and he sort of looked at me and he said, paddles. So somewhere in his head, he sort of knew that, you know, we must be somewhere towards the end. Like, come on, dude, put your paddles on and let's finish this thing, you know. But yeah, he breathes only to his left hand side. I breathe only to my right hand side. So we sort of look at each other while we're swimming, which is cool because I can keep him under wraps. He pushes quite far left when he swims. Naturally, I push far right. So between us, we sort of, you know, stay generally in the correct direction. But as you would have noticed from the boat is, you know, when the chop picks up, he comes even closer to me, and I sort of get clonked on the head every second stroke, and I maybe clonk him on the head every couple of strokes. So it's quite.
Well,
cumbersome.
I was noticing that.
Yeah.
I was just looking at that. They were very clearly, you know, swimming right in somebody else's space. Personally, I would find that super, super challenging. You know, I'm not happy when someone's swimming really, really close to me. So I was just mentally taking my hat off to you to being able to do all of that. How did it, you know, it's probably okay for the first little while. When you start tiring, does it get a little more frustrating?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. There was probably a patch where I was a little bit grumpy. And I, you know, sort of said, oi, you know, give me a bit of space, dude. Swim over there, you know. But it's so hard to be grumpy with Shazeel. I mean, he's such a cool little dude, man. I've become, it must be for over 4 years we've been swimming together. And you get used to it, you know. So every now and again, I you know, as I turn to breathe, he splashes a mouthful of seawater into me, and I'll cough and choke. So I've learned how to cough and fart and splutter under the water while still carrying on. I hear him. He sometimes sort of whatever he does, sings, shouts, talks underwater, makes bubbles, you know, so I can hear him when we're swimming. When he gets a little bit bored with me, or when I'm sort of out of gas, he pulls ahead of me. And that's generally not a good thing because we will then start losing track of direction. Because, you know, he'll, like I say, he pushes left quite hard, you know, so we naturally sort of like bumper cars into each other to keep a straight line. And if I do fall back a couple of strokes, I generally sort of just sort of grab him by the ankle and sort of put him back, you know, a meter, and then he sort of he gets the cue. Yeah, he gets the cue, and he's then back to square one and back to patience with me for another 10 minutes or so before he gets bored. But yeah, I mean, as you saw, we stopped for our first feed at an hour. Every 30 minutes thereafter, he was feeding well. He was really drinking his liquids well. He was consuming, you know, sort of 300 to 400 mils per stop, I think. he ate a banana, he ate a couple of gels as we were going along, So yeah, he was really good.
Yeah, he did what he was asked to do.
He did absolutely everything that he was asked to do. He didn't complain once. I think he was quite happy when we got to the finish. It's a long swim for anybody. And he was happy. And we had a little celebration on the rocks, and it was cool. I felt good. I can remember somebody saying to me a couple of years ago, trying to explain the story with Shazeel. And technically, I'm his support swimmer, right? But in reality, I think he's my support swimmer, Often, and you always joke, Jim, but like if I'm not meeting Shazeel for a swim, it's so easy for me to just roll over, switch an alarm clock off, and swim later, But if I'm meeting Shazeel, I'll be there, and he's there like clockwork. For him to get there, for example, when we swim on a weekend at 7:30, my understanding is that Shazeel's got quite a routine in the morning. He'll wake up, he'll shower, he'll eat breakfast, he'll get dressed. He's got his set routines. So he's to get to a 7:30 swim, he's up at like 5:30. So it's not easy, and I know that what his mom Shamima goes through to get him ready and there, I can't disappoint. You know what I mean? So I'm generally there 100% of the time when I know I'm there for Shazeel. And like I said, that makes him my support swimmer as opposed to the other way around. The same as, when you're going out in, let's say it's rough conditions or it's windy and it doesn't look so nice out there, I'm so comforted knowing that I'm taking him out and I'm making his day and sort of, giving him, something positive for his day. But at the same time, we're doing it together, right? So it's fun, and you've got less angst about going out in poor conditions when it's the two of you, So yeah, we talk shit, we talk about movies, and we look at the scenery, and we look for Batman's house and Batman's cave, and we try and name the islands when we're swimming, But yeah, he's a cool dude, man.
Yeah, and
good little swimmer.
He's got a pretty good mum with Shazeel, Shamima, right? Because as you said, if Shazeel's got to get up at 5, then it probably means Shamima's up before that, because she has to sort of kick-start the whole routine, yeah?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So after the swim, have you sort of chatted to Shamima or things? What was her sort of impression of the whole swim?
So she was pretty nervous, right, as I guess most moms would be. So from what I understand, there was a sleepless night or two from her perspective.
Yeah.
Just, starting to worry about the things we all worry about. Is the swim going to go ahead? Is the weather looking okay? Is Duncan and Shazeel going to be okay on this swim? Have they trained enough? Because we probably could have done more training. I don't believe in killing myself from a training perspective. I always like to sort of have some gas in the tank, but we did a couple of 20k weeks, which I think is fair swimming and definitely enough to get us around the island. We're not going to break any world records from a speed perspective.
Oh, you did a 7-hour swim, which is quite respectable, yeah.
I'm happy with that. And I suppose he's got a little bit of youth on his side, as well, which counts for a lot. We did, he had a couple of 10k swims as part of his prep. So I think he was prepared well enough for the swim. I definitely think at some point in time I would like to start trying to think about how to challenge that sort of boundary. What's next? How far can we go? What is reasonable to expect of a special needs swimmer who can't explain to you if they want to do something, if they are tired, it's hard. How do you gauge?
Well, yeah, because he seemed to be really good after the swim. He needed a bit of recovery, but coming back on the boat, he was bouncing around a little bit.
Yeah.
You could see that he was happy, but how much more does he want, or is that kind of adventure kind of filling his needs, as it were?
Yeah. So look, I think that type of distance is probably, now in hindsight, it's safe and it's doable. But I reckon he's, like I said, if we went and decided to swim for 5 days, he'd give it a go. Like, I know he would. Yeah. If I said, "Come, dude, let's go," he'd be there. Whether that's the right thing or wrong thing is the debatable part of it.
But so long as you can rely on him to be able to tell you if it's not good, because he's pretty good at telling you if he's cold.
Correct.
So yeah.
Correct. So I think I would like to do some longer swims with Shazeel. Not necessarily longer, but longer and possibly different. So, for example, I would love to be able to go and do Rot Nest with him as an adventure, because, you can imagine the opportunities that he's got versus, the opportunities that the average swimmer has got is very different and very limited. And maybe the trick is to just do more reasonable length swims, but keep them fun and keep them different. And possibly once every 2 years or so, like really just sort of pump up the training a little bit. And he lives for the training, right? He loves the training. He does. He trains at West Wave in the pool. He's done Special Needs Olympics, so he's pretty quick. He's pretty handy in the pool. So he does the pool workouts. He does the ocean swims with us. I swim once in the pool with him during the week, and then I swim twice on the weekend with him in the ocean. So for him to sort of, he also does, he's got another coach, a physical gym coach, Jason, who does running, stairmasters, physical gym. He's a strong boy. He'll run up and down the stairs at the stadium. Yeah. I mean, he really trains, 6 or 7 days a week. So he's strong. I would love to be able to do like a lake tope or something like that. And again, who cares how long it takes us, right? If we've got to stop and float on our backs and have a full-on sandwich as opposed to a 30-second quick feed and off we go, the idea is to make it fun for him and relaxing as opposed to being a race, So I'd love to do more with him.
Yeah, when you think about it, rather than the length, if you did a width, that's a 30K one, it's not necessarily a double kind of distance.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, moving on from that, I just wanted to talk about Rangitoto.
Yes.
So we've had lots of conversations in the past. You've done it in both directions.
Yeah.
So this time we did it anti-clockwise.
Yep.
So you went around the top of the island, got a really nice current going down the channel, and you were absolutely moving kind of over the ground. And then you came around the bottom and you were against the current and against the wind. And you were moving at a strong, steady 1 kilometer an hour. Right. And then you got through. So the challenge with Rangitoto is it's very close to Motutapu.
Yeah.
And the only way to swim through it is to absolutely hit the peak of high water, which you missed. So you had to just trudge through a little stream, get back into the water and carry on the other side.
Yeah.
Now, when I was thinking of how to do it, I was a fan of doing it the other way, to do it clockwise, where you would basically do the walk between the islands, and then you would swim anti-clockwise until you kind of got to the point that's closest to the harbour at high water. So you'd have a little bit of current helping you there, and then a little bit of current helping you up the channel and get round. You've done it in both directions. You were grumpy at going 1K an hour.
Yes, I was.
Not that he took anything out on the support crew. There was no question of taking anything out on the support crew.
I did question you guys once or twice, politely. Okay, so the bulk of the history with the Rangitoto swim has been swimming clockwise, and the sort of agreed route is exactly to your point, starting on the north end of the bridge.
Yep.
And the bridge is what separates the two islands. Starting, possibly 800 meters to 1,000 meters north of the bridge at high tide. Swimming clockwise, getting under the bridge with your kayak or with your IRB. In our case, an IRB is nice and flat. You can lift the engine up and you can sort of get through that bridge because it's very shallow. And then you've got some assistance for possibly the first 1/3 of the swim. So you get the tough bit out the way. You get under the bridge, but then it's quite a slog. Sort of from the wharf up to the lighthouse and around the top end of the island. You're slogging away with very little assistance. Now, funny enough, when I did that one in 2020 with Sue Sherwin, we swam it in 7 hours 31 minutes. Again, I'm not the fastest swimmer. I'm really a proper middle of the pack type swimmer. No speed, but sort of relatively strong and can keep ticking over. And I was convinced that there's got to be a better way of doing it, right? Because that first time I did it was a slog. I then went back about 2 years later, and 4 of us gave it a go, and we had really shit weather, and it wasn't a good day, and we called the swim. If I remember correctly, we called it at about 15 kilometers and jumped back in the boat and went. And there was that same clockwise direction, which didn't work for us. Then I was talking to Mike, and Mike's always got, he's always like 5 steps ahead of everybody else, right?
Yeah,
and he was like, hey, you can do it the other way. And I was like, how? Look, how? You're not going to get under the bridge. And anyway, so we had a couple of conversations, and I pulled Roger Soulsby. And we had, Google Maps out and Navionics, and my daughter was there, and we sort of just stripped this thing apart and try to see how to do it. But basically, if you swim clockwise, you've got to start at high tide, get under the bridge, and then you can chill the rest of the way. And when you finish, right? Because you don't need to go back under the bridge. When you go anti-clockwise, effectively you start at the same place on the northern end of the bridge, and then the first quarter you've probably got a little bit of I guess sort of slack water with minimal assistance. But then, to your point, around that western side of Rangitoto, when you've got the incoming tide, I think we were doing
6 k's an hour.
6 k's an hour for a couple of kilometers, right? For about 2 hours. If you get it right and you pick a day with little wind, as we did with Sane and as we did with Ivan, they swam at they're really good fast swimmers, but they got to like 5.5 hours, right? So their assistance is really high. The tricky part is that because you've started at low tide, you've got to time it to get back in between the islands underneath the bridge at high tide to be able to swim it. if you get that timing wrong, to your point, you're sludging, right? You've got basically a swamp that you've got to try and pull a kayak through. The boats are not going to get through at that stage, and it becomes a bit of a mess. It becomes a bit messy.
So my sort of question is, how important is it to actually swim under the bridge? Because if you said, all right, we're going to do it clockwise,
Yeah.
basically you take your IOB to the southern side of the bridge.
Yeah.
The swimmers go through, start north of the bridge, swim to the bridge, walk through the mud, and now, because you're not dependent on high water, you can actually sort out so that the tide assists for the whole swim.
Yeah.
And it means that you can then go around, you can get to the ferry terminal at high water. So you've got a bit of a help to the ferry terminal, a bit of the help up the channel, and you go around. How people would think of the fact, because you weren't able to swim under the bridge. No. And it also means that potentially you have to be quite considered, because you need to go with a king tide.
Yes.
You really need a good high water to be able to swim under the bridge, even if you get the timing right.
Correct. So I think
that's kind of the challenge is how bad is it for a swimmer to have had to walk the couple of hundred meters?
So it depends on why you're doing it, right? So for Shazeel and myself, for example, we just want to swim around Rangitoto Island, right? We're not chasing any records. We're not looking for any additional recognition from World Open Water Marathon Swimming Associations, etc., etc. So if we had to like sort of sludge through and walk, 200 meters or whatever the case might be, no stress. If, however, you are chasing records and recognition and all of that stuff, you got to swim it, right? You got to be able to swim under it. Now, in that case, the safest option is to go clockwise, right? Yeah. So you're starting at high tide and you can literally swim 100% of the way, no issues. If you're chasing records, you got to go anti-clockwise
and get your timing right.
You've got to get your timing right. Like literally, you've got 30 minutes sort of leeway where you can still work with the height of the water to get under there. But if you are faster than you think or slower than you think, you're going to miss that high tide mark and you're going to have to sludge through. And then you're not going to be able to sort of claim.
But that also means that you really should try to do it at a king tide.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yes.
And it just gives you that extra couple of centimeters.
Yeah. Yes. But, so with that said, it's, you've got the New Zealand Triple Crown, which is Cook Strait, Rangitoto, and the Fovo Strait. I think obviously Cook, everybody knows about it. It's an internationally recognised swim. It's part of the Ocean 7. Taupo, my understanding is that Phil quite likes the guys to do a taupo before a Cook to make sure that they've got what it takes.
It's a bit more controlled in taupo.
Yeah, it's a bit more controlled. It's obviously a lake as opposed to the ocean. It's further, but it's more controlled, like you say. So, once you've done taupo, based on what happened on that day, Phil will say, yeah, cool, you've got what it takes to do a Cook and let's go ahead with the booking and all of that type of stuff, right? Whereas if you just go straight into a Cook, I guess the level of failed swims is quite high, because you're possibly underestimating what it's all about, right? So Rangi, for me, is almost another opportunity for a marathon swimmer to come and do a good, long, tough swim, but a doable swim. It's not a ridiculous swim. It's 20 Ks. If you do it in summer, the water's 20 degrees, 19 degrees, 21 degrees, and you sort of tick the block, use it as a training swim.
And you kind of know what your pace is all the way through a long swim, because I think that would be some of the challenges with a cook.
Yeah.
You need to be fairly fast, but you need to be fairly fast consistently through the whole swim.
100%, yeah. I mean, how many times have we heard the stories where the guys, bomb all the way through until, I don't know, 500 meters from the end, and they don't get to the end, right? So if you've got nothing left in the tank and you're at the end, what's the point? You still haven't finished it. So that's I think part of the reason why Rangi is so appealing for me. It's on my doorstep. It's we can go out once a year or whatever the case might be and do a Rangi swim without having to travel to the other side of the world, or it's a good swim for the Auckland-based swimmers, and it's a beautiful swim.
So why don't we start an Auckland mini Triple Crown?
Amen.
Hey, we do.
Amen.
You've got to go around Rangi. You can do Waiheke back to Auckland. The original chopper challenge swim.
Yes, that's 20 k's as well. Yeah,
that's a 20k, and then think of a third.
So what would you do for the third?
Man, I don't know.
I suppose it could be around another island. It could be a point to point again. Auckland Triple Crown.
Yeah, you could go from the bottom part of Whangaparoa up to Waiwera or something like that, or keep on going sort of north of Auckland itself, or even like you did with Shazeel, you go from Devonport, up to Whangaparoa.
That was a good swim.
Devonport to Whangaparoa, you'd have probably a 15-ish. Just call it a mini Triple Crown, but it's an Auckland-based one, eh?
Yeah. Hey, so maybe if any of the listeners have got any ideas, shoot it through to us, right? I'm quite keen to facilitate that. That sounds like a good idea.
Cool. So talking about facilitating, you've been helping a couple of people with principally around Rangi swims. So you've got a little side hustle going, is that correct?
Yeah, a little side hustle. It's called Swimscape. And really just to your point, right, the bulk of it is to get guys around Rangitoto. Couple of options there. There's the Rangitoto swim, which is 20. And then the island behind Rangitoto is Matitopa, which is also 20 or 19. And then you've got the option of doing both islands. And if you do both islands, it's funny enough, it's not 40, it's 32 Ks. So you've got nobody that's done all three of those options. We've got one swimmer that will be swimming in a couple of weeks. In fact, Sane, she's aiming to be the first person to do both individual islands and then come back next year and do the double, which is pretty cool. It's such a nice swim, Jim. It's really on our doorsteps, and if the tricky part is finding the dates, like any ocean swim, right? It's about the weather, and it's about the tides, and it's about all of those good things. But we've sort of figured out the logistics part of it, which is pretty cool. We're also aiming to try and get some relays across, because marathon swimming and open water swimming doesn't need to be about guys being heroes. Come with a group of 4 guys, 2 guys, 6 guys, and do a relay around the island as a bucket list swim.
Man, that would be super cool, because last year we did a relay along the length of Taupo. It's just super cool to get a group of swimmers together and go and do a bit of an adventure.
How many of us? There were 6 of us there.
There were 6 of us did it. So we all just swam in chunks. I think it was an hour 20 a time or something like that, and kind of.
That was a good day out. It was a really good day out.
Yeah,
I'm more keen on your little vision of swim camping that we learned from Colin, the Scotsman.
Colin McLeod,
Colin McLeod. That sounds super cool, man. Have you managed to figure out your equipment?
No, I haven't yet. I have some thoughts. Yeah. I actually have. I want to build like a little raft to tow behind a fiberglass, but I think that's going to be an overwinter challenge, because first of all, I haven't done much fiberglassing, so I reckon it'll take 3 or 4 goes before I get something that floats. But I think that we could probably do something before then, just with I was just thinking if you even just get a little spare in a tube.
Yep.
And some nice
like a truck tube we used to go down the rivers.
A bit of a truck tube and
put some netting underneath or something.
Some netting with a whole bunch of dry bags. I think that it's so I'd like to do just a little adventure this summer and then learn a little bit more, and then maybe we get more adventuresome, as we do more of it. But I certainly, even if I only swam a couple of 100 meters and then camped, I'd still tick that box.
So what are the ideas for venues, for your test venue?
Well, Mike had put some ones out there from Maharangi out to Saddle Island, and then I can't remember the name of the target island, but there was actually a dock campsite on the island. So there's no real hiking involved.
Yep.
Basically just...
It was like a 3K swim, I think, if I recall, 3.5Ks.
It was a 3K and then another 3.5K swim.
Yep.
So swim to one island, have lunch, swim to the next island, camp, and then do the same thing on the way back. I think that would be...
So what would you need to take with you, right? You'd need to take a tent. You would need to take a gas cooker.
Yeah, tent, gas cooker, bit of food.
Some dry clothes.
And sleeping bag, and you don't need very much at all.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be a heavy thing to tow, so long as you manage to. The trick is keeping it all dry and not slowing you down too much. Although the slowing down doesn't bother me too much because it's not a race.
No, myself.
Yeah.
Whatever, man. If you use fins or paddles or whatever you need to get your steam going and pull that.
And the other thing is you could actually get a bigger inner tube and attach two swimmers to a single tube and put all of your gear into one thing, and then you just go along.
That sounds too hard, man, because now you got to get the pace right between the two swimmers.
Yeah, but, I know somebody who swims with somebody.
Yeah.
But he's a lot faster than
Shazeel
me.
Put us.
Imagine taking Shazeel camping.
That would be hard.
That would be super hard.
I think we're going to do it just for fun.
Yeah.
Hey, so there's a dude that swam around Lake Taupo, right?
Yeah. He had a little fiberglass thingamajig, yeah.
He also made that himself, right? There was like a little catamaran vibe that he had.
Yeah, I think that's what is in my mind. I'd so like to be able to do it. Put it on my list of hobbies. Learn how to make a fiberglass boat.
I don't know how to do fiberglassing, man. I'm thinking boogie board and some rope. You'd strap it down and off we go.
Well, I'm just hoping that if I get a nice little fiberglass thing, you can take your boogie board. I might be able to beat you for a change.
Hey, so weren't we talking about trying to do a swim down a river?
We were. I think we need to do small camps first before we do a big, long thing. Yeah, I think we thought about it. Ram had done a big swim in South Africa.
Yeah.
So let's see if somebody can swim around Taupo and tow all the stuff. Going down the Waikato, it's fresh water. All you've got to do is boil it. So you wouldn't need to carry a lot of water, it's just food.
Yeah, and miss the power stations, right?
Well, I think what we'll do in terms of swimming down the Waikato is we'll send Brian down first and find out what it's like. And then after he's done it in one day, then we can take a week to do it, hey?
Exactly. Or longer if we need to, yes?
Sounds like a plan.
So I'm going to just go back. Sorry, man. As you're talking there, I was just thinking about Shazeel again. But maybe what I need to try and get across here is that obviously we're trying to grow the sport of open water swimming. And obviously that's about community and it's about mates and all of that stuff. And maybe as a challenge to some of the listeners out there is, if there is a person that is, I don't know, keen to give open water swimming a chance, but they're nervous or special needs or whatever the case might be, but maybe, put your hand up and try and help out. I definitely I'm pretty sure get more out of helping Shazeel for myself personally than what he gets out of it. I really enjoy it, and it's the one good thing in a day that I can get done, and I'm pretty sure that if the guys out there can all try and help out, I think it would be good for the world, right? Go and help a swimmer out, be it a kid, be it a newbie, be it somebody that's scared, be it somebody with a disability. Go out and help somebody, man. I've gained from this experience so much more than a swimming partner,
Right. I think I need to take that up as a challenge. I'm going to find an opportunity to give a hand.
Yeah. A 22-year-old Brazilian in a bikini doesn't count, though, Jim.
What if she's Italian, not Brazilian?
That's in the rule book. That's fine. That's all good. But yeah, definitely, I reckon it's a good thing, man. Try and get out there and help your neighbour, right? Get out there and make it happen.
Well, I think that's a great thing. Just to sort of wrap up, it was super impressive seeing you two swim around Rangitoto. I know that you get stuff out of it, but there's, if it wasn't for people doing things like you, then Shazeel would not get those opportunities. It would make life harder for his mum at home because he's a very strong, active young man. He is. And he needs those opportunities to burn the energy off.
He's cool. And watch this space. We're going to come back. We're going to do some more stuff. It'll be fun. He'll love it. And I reckon he'll keep me on my toes as well, which is pretty cool.
I think we need to make a Auckland Triple Crown, and you and Shazeel should be the first people to do it.
Done.
Whether anybody else ever recognises it doesn't really matter.
One person will do it at least. Okay, done. Shazeel, there's your next challenge, boy. Auckland Triple Crown. You've done one of them so far. 2 to go. Thank you, Jim.
Cool. We'll work it out. Okay, then.
Easy, man.
Cheers all.
Ciao.
Well, thanks for listening. As always, if you've got any comments, suggestions, or general feedback, you can flick us an email at cleverdicksnz@gmail.com. We've got an Instagram page. You can drop us a comment there. Or you could even give us a rating and review on your favorite podcast app. We'd really appreciate to hear what you think about it. Until next time, that's it for us, folks. Cheers. Bye.